When you think of your standard Mario romp, you probably think of the original, Mario 3, or maybe even one of the new Super games. No matter what it is, I'm willing to bet that very few of you would immediately think of Super Mario World. I wouldn't either. But in a lot of ways, this game isn't your standard Mario game. It takes a lot of what the original 3 Mario games had already established and completely innovates on it. And if that claim doesn't interest you, then why would you even click on the video, to be honest? I will show you why this game is not only an innovative Mario game, but one of the best games out there. So let's start where I think everyone else would probably start. Let's talk about the theme of the game. Super Mario World's theme is that it is just one connected world. It's visually more efficient than, let's say, the design of Super Mario Bros. 3, which, what I mean by visually more efficient, that it's all in one place, it's all very cohesive and it blends all together, and it's also just more efficient for the player because each part is readily accessible to you at any time. You know, you're not forced to stick to like one particular world and then go on to the next. This is also the first game where you can replay levels. I don't think I put that in the script, but whatever. There's one thing I forgot to mention, which is really important because it's something that stays in every Mario game, like going after it. Yeah, anyway, this sense of connectivity really only supports the title of World. It's extremely fitting that this game have a connected overworld map, one that isn't wholly linear as well, and the title be Super Mario World. Super Mario World at the time was one of the best looking Mario games to date, which, you know, duh. Compared to like the Game Boy games and the NES games, yeah, no shit. It was brand new hardware and was much more powerful than its older brothers in the NES. Now, this is certainly not one of the best SNES looking games. It's very early into the hardware, and the best looking SNES Mario game is certainly Super Mario All-Stars. That game takes the title, no doubt. It was made at a time when Nintendo had a better idea of how to handle the hardware, and that shows. However, that's not to say that Super Mario World is not a good looking game. The colors are vibrant, all the levels seem to kind of mesh together very well. They all have a very, you know, certain theme. The game has a very particular style. It's not like Super Mario Odyssey and, you know, other, you know, Mario games that, you know, it's just kind of ADD with its style of theme. You know, you bounce from one place to the next. Now, that's not to say that I don't like games that do that. Super Mario Odyssey, Galaxy, every 3D Mario game does this, where you just kind of bounce from one theme to the next with no real cohesive reason to do so. It's not bad, but there's something pretty cool about, you know, the sort of cohesiveness of Super Mario World. I'm not saying I dislike it, I'm just making that sort of comparison and distinction between the two. This gives the whole world that, you know, seamless feeling that I've kind of been pushing here. It goes unmatched in any 2D Mario game, all the way up until the new Super Mario Bros. U on the Wii U in 2012. You know, only 22 years later, which I might talk about that game in the future, but now let's move on to Mario's moveset. This game introduces some new mechanics into Mario's abilities, the most notable of which is the ability to spin jump. This allows Mario to bounce off some enemies and break some certain blocks below him. It's used in very fun ways throughout the game, and it's a great way to find secrets. There's a level where you have to basically, like, the way to get through it is by smashing a bunch of these blocks below your feet, and it's a really good time. It's probably the most, like, in-depth use of this mechanic, but, I mean, that's not a very in-depth use of it. It's just the best example I can give of thinking of like a good example of that mechanic. Other than that, Mario retains everything he had from Mario 3. He can still run, jump, and overall be a badass. However, I will say, playing on the SNES is just way smoother than playing Mario 3 on the NES. Maybe that's just because of the visuals and the hardware, or maybe that I just find the SNES kind of looks bad when it plays Mario 3, but it's probably just me. To be clear, I do have an original NES, and I play it on an old CRT TV, you know, via the AV cables, so maybe it has something to do with it. Maybe I'm just whining. I might just be a little pussy bitch, whatever you want to call me. The Super Nintendo controller really helps this fluid control set. Running and jumping is perfected in this game. You put your thumb on the Y button to run, and it rests on the B button ready to jump at any second. It is a perfect control layout, and the SNES controller does everything the NES controller did, but so much better, and that helps this game a lot. I'm convinced that if this game was running on the original NES controller, you wouldn't have enough buttons, first of all, but it wouldn't be nearly as fluid because that perfectly horizontal layout is not nearly as nice as that kind of 45-degree angle buttons of the Super Nintendo controller. Now, I played this game on my Switch using the SN30 Pro, which is a fantastic little controller. I think it's the best way to play the game on any modern system. unless you're like me and you have an SNES Classic Edition. I mean, I don't touch that though. Moving on. Let's talk about the game's music. As someone who is obsessed with music, I mean, I've let it kind of take over my life pretty slowly over the past 10 years. To be honest, I find that Super Mario World's tracks aren't as memorable as, say, Super Mario Bros. 1's Overworld, or even Super Mario Bros. 3's Overworld theme, or the athletic theme from that game, I should say. There's very few tracks here that, like, genuinely stand out in my mind. That being said, they're not bad, you know, they're just kind of that generic Mario sound, which, again, isn't bad, and it's not really boring in this game because it's new. At the time, this was, you know, music made with 16-bit hardware. This is pretty cool stuff at the time, but if there's any, like, one song that is particularly cool, it's probably the boss fight theme. It's quite satisfying here. Let's take a listen over a nice video. Let's talk about how Super Mario World innovates mechanically and in ways that we really never saw before, and some ways that we haven't seen again. Some of these things do come back later, but some of these things don't. Super Mario World is the king of secret levels and secret exits. As a kid, discovering you could fly above the stage in the Donuts Plains ghost house was like the most amazing feeling ever, and then from there, unlocking the top secret zone from it was like even better. It's an awesome reward for finding something secret, something that no future Mario game really ever reached quite the same level of doing. Speaking of things that the new games can't do quite right, Yoshi. I'll save my opinions on Yoshi in the new Super Mario Bros. Games for a different video. For now, let's just focus on his original debut. It's my favorite. Yoshi can eat enemies, you know, duh. Spit up Koopa shells, spit out fireballs, fucking fly. And get this, you could take him with you to any level, except for the castles and ghost houses. But still, you know, it's way better than what any of the newer games can say about Yoshi. You just kind of have to leave Yoshi behind, and that kind of sucks. I mean, I know in the new Super Mario Bros. You could take baby Yoshi with you, but it's not that big of a deal. Something that this game nails that nobody really seems to talk about for some reason are the block switches. You know, these little special switch stages. During the first couple levels of the game, you might find some block outlines. You might wonder what they are. You find a bonus stage at the top of a hill, and suddenly you find that all those outlines are now solid with exclamation points, you know, on the block. The yellow ones give you a mushroom, green ones give you a feather. I don't think the red ones and the blue ones do anything, they're just kind of there, which I get it. This mechanic is, as far as I know, unique to Super Mario World. Once you hit a switch in one place, all of these blocks become present in every other level. This becomes really important in, like, later worlds. I think Star Road has a level where, like, you need to have all these switches hit in order to, like, complete it. Although I might be wrong about that. You could probably get around it using, like, a feather and some, like, really good tricks, which I have done. But anyway, let's move on from the fucking switches, although they are really, really cool. Let's give a big old spoiler warning here. Since we were kind of talking about Star Road, I want to talk about something pretty cool here. But if you don't want to be spoiled on a game that is now 30 years old, just skip ahead a few minutes. Maybe I'll put a time up on screen. Maybe I probably won't. But this next part's pretty fucking cool. You go through Star Road, right? Once you've completed it, you unlock the special world. It's a collection of difficult and fun levels. I'll talk more about it a little bit later. This world is going to test you in a lot of ways, but the reward for it's pretty cool. You get a total theme change. The entire game's theme is changed. Everything in the game gets this sort of autumn feel to it, and I absolutely love this. Yet again, this is something that Super Mario World does that is unique to the game. No other Mario adventure comes close to bringing this amazing feeling after a 100% run. I don't think you actually have to 100% the game in order to get this, but that's usually what I would do. It almost makes you want to do the whole game over again under this new theme. It's a genius reward. The final thing that I can really talk about that this game innovates on is the use of the extra power-up box at the top of the screen. Now, this is a very, very useful thing, as the player can simply drop a power-up if they're ever in a pickle. Pickle Rick, that's a fucking terrible meme right now, I should just stop. This has saved my ass more than once, I can assure you. It's a nice change, but it only really appears in the DS games and in 3D World and Land for some reason. The new Super Mario home console games don't have this feature. I'm not really entirely sure why, but it might be because of the lack of buttons on the Wii Remote, but like, what the fuck is the B button used for? Use that. Anyway, so, with all of that out of the way, all the cool innovations and stuff, let's break this game down world by world. I'm not going to talk about every stage or, even a lot of stages. I just kind of want to talk about each world and what kind of stands out to me about it or lack thereof. It'll be fun. First world, Yoshi's Island. Not the game. Yoshi's Island is a pretty decent starting world. It's short, and it does well to teach you the basic mechanics of the game. You learn about the basic plot, dragon coins, which, like, what the fuck is the purpose of these things? And you kind of, you kind of just learn the basics ins and outs of the game. The most interesting thing about Yoshi's Island is, like, probably the hidden switch in the castle, to be real with you. Little side note here, all the Koopaling boss fights, with the exception of Ludwig, are the exact fucking same. All of them are. There's only 3 unique boss fights in this game. Well, yeah, there's only 3, being Ludwig, Bowser, and Big Boo. The other ones, the Koopalings, are just copies of each other. This is really boring. I mean, at least the boss fights are kind of fun, and they aren't as offensively bland as they are in, like, later titles. But still, the whole thing's just kind of cheap to add copies of the same bosses and then just make them a little more difficult later, which is something that this game kind of thrives on. But the difference here is that it's a boss fight, it's one contained, like, small area. You can only expand upon a certain mechanic of a boss fight so much, whereas a certain mechanic, a motif of a level can be expanded upon greatly, by the end of a game. But that's just me. Anyway, back to World 1. The most important thing of this world, like I said, was the Switch Palace. It introduces you to the mechanic of the little block outlines in a very simple way. It's the easiest switch to get, but that's to be expected. This stage is literally just filled with coins. It's a nice, fun stage with no real threat. But the game really doesn't start going until World 2, Donut Plains. Donut Plains is easily that world that comes to mind when I think of this game. It's the most iconic world. This is mainly due to the introduction of the Feather power-up. This is a power-up that changes how you play the game, and this power-up was really never seen again for good use. It's very, very overpowered if you know how to use it. The learning curve on this power-up isn't too large, but it's enough to confuse younger players, and I enjoyed that. I remember as a kid, I used to struggle with, like, figuring out that you had to, like, go tap back on the D-pad. It took me a while to figure out. A notable stage in this particular world is the ghost house, the first ghost house, not the hidden ghost house. It brings up probably the most iconic secret exit in any Mario game. It brings you to the top secret area. I think I mentioned it briefly before. An area where Mario can power up and get Yoshi. It's a nice little quick boost for a hard level. If you're struggling on something, you need to go back there and get something. The only bad part about that is you have to go across the world or go through Star World to come back here just to get that, and then to go back and then die again. But it's still nice just to have that little boost. Donut Plains is the place where the game opens up to you. The ghost house is one example, but there are so many secret exits, in this world. You can find one in the first level, You can play through the secret level and then find a secret level for that one, And then you go to the ghost house. Well, I guess the ghost house would be the secret level for that one. And then you can go to that secret exit and then get to Star Road. This is genius. This is some in-depth secret finding. I know I didn't explain that very well, but whatever. It's simply not present in any other 2D Mario game. The secret exits and stages in this world are what make it one of the best worlds in the game. Sadly, the world following this one, it isn't quite as interesting. Vanilla Dome isn't my least favorite world in Super Mario World, but it certainly doesn't reach the same level of depth as World 2. The best thing to come out of this world is the hidden level that takes you above World 7. It's a neat mechanic, I think. You get to see the final world and wonder what horrors wait for you. And that particular stage in question on that hidden path is shockingly difficult for World 3. It's an ice cave level. I had a real bitch of a time completing this on almost every playthrough I did. Why? I'm not sure. Perhaps it's because I'm never really ready for ice physics, or it's because I just kind of suck dick. Either way. Other than that one level, it's harder for me to really talk about anything in particular about this world. It has a linear path with a couple branching parts. It's certainly not the worst world to me. Trust me, we'll get there. Oh, one thing I really do like about this world is that there's two ways of exiting it. There's two exits to the world, which, you can either go through the castle the normal way, or you can go through the pipe to get to World 4. It's a really cool concept. I don't think there's any other world that has two exits, although the two exits lead to the same world, so it's not, too crazy, like, interesting. But it is there, and it is something that's pretty neat. So, speaking of World 4, let's talk about World 4. Twin Bridges. I'm gonna be honest with you, this world is just not my favorite. It's not terrible in design, but I find that its lack of hidden exits or interesting motifs in general, it's pretty boring. Perhaps this is just me, but Super Mario Bros. 3 has more variety in themes, and I feel like this world could have been replaced with like a snowy world, and it would have been just fine. However, I get that this game is all like one cohesive island and world, and I understand I understand why it's the way that it is. But I like my snowy levels, you bitch. I enjoy snow. Not in real life, it's kind of cold, I kind of hate it. But to look at in a Mario game, or any game in general, I'm a big fan. The only really impressive thing about this world is its boss fight, which is Ludwig. He's unique, he's not too difficult, it's a Mario game after all, they're not known for their hard boss fights. I really like that he's unique and he's not a copy of any other boss fight. I do enjoy that when you finally finish this castle, it shoots off into the air like a rocket, and then it hits a hill and crashes, and then there's a bandage on said hill, where it crashed into it. Holy shit. If you can hear that, it is raining like crazy. Anyway, World 4 may not be the best, but for me, it's totally worth it when you get to World 5. Forest of Illusion. Forest of Illusion is the first time we get to see a forest theme in a Mario game. It's pretty cool because it becomes like a solid staple in the 2D Mario games from this point on. I guess New Super Mario Bros. 2 has like a half forest, half like water world, which, kind of half and half, whatever. This whole world's motif is that going to a stage and completing it like a normal level. Yeah, I'm just kidding, that's a lie. Your goal is to actually find keys and put them into keyholes in each level. If you don't do this, the game just simply circles you back to exactly where you were before. It's pretty neat because it makes you think of like trying to find secrets, and if you weren't trying to find secrets before this world, you were going to after this world. Because now you're kind of forced to learn about them. It's about midway through the game, but at least it forces you to learn about the secrets. It's pretty unique in that sense. But I'm the kind of person who takes the normal exits and then the secret exits because I'm weird like that, and I like to see every single path in the forest opened up all at once. I'm weird. World 5 has several notable stages. They're all pretty notable. There really aren't any standout levels in the world other than the ghost ship, which isn't really 6. It's kind of between 6 and 7. But the ghost ship is a really fun level. It has several interesting parts. There's a common theory that this level is actually an airship from Mario 3, which is a cute little theory. It's based off the fact that at the end you get the little question ball thing that the Mario 3, castles ended with, the fortresses or whatever ended with. It's pretty neat. I enjoy that. Besides that, this level has a section where the player is just straight up free falling, and it's honestly kind of anxiety inducing. I like that. There's also the section where ghosts appear at certain times, and the player has to move and stop according to where the ghosts show up at. It's a pretty unique idea for a level, and the theme of being a ghost ship, it's a kind of a nice spin on the ghost house theme that is seen through the rest of the game. I enjoy it quite a bit. It uses the same music as to be expected, but it's pretty cool. Now, World 7, it's not very fun. I don't mean to say that because it's like, oh, it's the last world and it's one of the more difficult ones, so I don't like it. But I just don't find the world to be very fun. It's kind of a generic final world theme, which I get. All Mario games, with the exception of New Super Mario Bros. U, have a similar final world theme. Even Mario Bros. U still has the big lava scary, which Mario World doesn't quite do. But it's still kind of there in the levels, not in the world map itself, but in some of the levels. And at least Mario U has a spin on it being at Peach's castle instead of at Bowser's castle. It's pretty cool. It's not like this game where it's the generic Bowser castle final level. The only really cool part about this world is being able to get into Bowser's castle via the back door, which has like a really cool section to it of itself. It's a fun way to reach Bowser faster, but if you're a real man, you do it both ways. Trust me, you haven't lived until you've 100% of this game. That was not very fun during high school. Anyway, of course, the most notable thing out of this world is the fight with Bowser. As a kid, I remember thinking this was like the toughest fight ever, and now I can just, go through it, no problems, really. This fight goes through a few particular phases. The first one, Bowser throws those little mech guys down, and Mario has to throw them up to hurt Bowser. This is one of those repeating things that happens again. The second phase, Bowser will shoot little fireballs down, and they'll come back and drop big metallic balls that Mario has to dodge. And you throw the little mech guys at him again, boom, repeat. And then this time, does the fireball thing again. I don't know if it's any harder, but I think it's the same. I could be totally wrong on that. He comes back, and then he starts just slamming his propellers into the castle, which you would think would destroy them. You'd think it would destroy his little flying machine, but it doesn't. Whatever, Nintendo. After another knock to the head, you beat Bowser. As a kid, I found this to be the most satisfying moment of any game. I was about 10 years old. Oh god, listen to that voice crack. Jesus fucking Christ, that voice crack. I was about 10 years old when I finally beat this game on a Super Nintendo. I remember just being super excited and like dancing around my brother's bedroom because I had beaten a Mario game for the first time. Well, a 2D Mario game, to be honest. It was a proud moment. But did I 100% the game as a 10-year-old? Fuck no. I didn't even touch World 6. Actually, to be honest with you, I didn't. How? Star Road is how, baby. Star Road is a collection of levels used to travel around the overworld faster. These levels contain different colored Yoshis that have special powers. It's really cool, really unique. These are all really fun levels, and the main goal of them is to get to the special world, or, to travel around. All the stages on Star Road are a blast. I don't want to pick one in particular to point out. I'd rather you just go and play it and see why I love it. So, you've completed Star World, and you've beaten Bowser, maybe, but do you have what it takes to beat the special world? This is a simple world consisting of really fun and challenging stages, 8 of them, I do believe. I think it's 8. I didn't get around to completing this until my junior year of high school, and when I did, it was totally worth it. You see, the special world isn't very thematically cool, other than the fact that it's kind of in outer space, which would be a really cool world theme, Nintendo. Make World 9 outer space from now on. That'd be really cool. Other than that, it's just a straight line. No secret exits, but this is totally worth it when for the final reward, which is that total game theme change that comes after you complete World 9. Now, I'm not going to go too in-depth to it, kind of like I did earlier, but just know that when you play through this game after beating World 9 with a theme change, it's really fun. You just get to go through the whole game again, or go to a level from each world and pick your favorite levels and go back to them and see what they look like now with this theme change. You will not be disappointed. It's really, really dope. So that's really my thesis on the whole game, to be honest. It's innovative. Go play it. I promise you'll like it. It's a fantastic game. As I said before, it's my favorite 2D Mario platformer. It's the iconic game when someone says Super Nintendo. That's the first game that comes to my mind. It's a game that captured the mind of so many children back in the 90s, and even us kids who grew up in the 2000s with our parents' old, game consoles. There was never a dull moment playing this game. There was never a time where I thought about quitting or raging, and if I ever got mad at the game, it was usually due to my own lack of skill because, I suck at games. Sure, it's quite a bit easier than Mario 3. This game just fucking throws 1-up mushrooms at you and 1-up moons, which I didn't talk about, but those are pretty cool. But there's a reason that this one was my first one that I could beat as a kid, because it was so approachable. It was so easy. I had played Mario 3 at my aunt's house on her NES, which is the one I still own, and I play it, and I have Mario 3, that same one I played, pretty dope. But I don't think I ever really got into it nearly as much as I got into Super Mario World. Sure, I've beat it, I've beat it, a few times, and I like that you could just go through the worlds, and the reward for that isn't even that great. Sure, you get a bunch of P-Wings. Cool. That's pretty cool, but what if we want to do something more than that, which is what Super Mario World really does much better than Mario 3. I probably will talk about that if I ever make a video on that, because trust me, I will make a video on Mario 3. I kind of have to now. You really can't talk about this game and then not talk about Mario 3, because Mario 3 is what started so much of what is in Mario World. For as much as Mario World innovates, it definitely wouldn't be the same without Mario 3. But that's really it. That's all I really have to say about Super Mario World. If you've noticed a nicer quality in sound, it might be because I am no longer using my iPhone to record my voiceovers. I've upgraded to a Blue Yeti. Yes, I'm that basic bitch. It's the blackout edition, you know, so that's not too basic. Yay. I got it for 60 bucks. Can you really blame me for not taking this deal? It was a fucking steal when it's like 120. It's not bad. If you enjoyed this video, tell me why. If you wish to discuss Super Mario World in the comments, I will happily join in, good and bad. I love talking about this game. I do have a Patreon, which I will likely put in the description below. For $1 a month, you can have your name at the end of my videos on both my music channel and on this channel. You probably get some videos or previews of videos a day or two early, you know, before they come up on YouTube. I will probably also run polls on what games I should review next. It'll be a fun way to have a community interaction. However, there's nobody on the Patreon, which I don't expect there to be anybody for a long time, but it's going to be there, you know, so that way anytime somebody watches this video, they'll know it's there. So, thank you all for watching. I'm thinking of covering Dark Cloud 2 next on the channel, as it is another game that I grew up with and absolutely loved. I might talk about the first Dark Cloud as well, but Dark Cloud 2 is the one I want to cover because I played that one more recently. So if you wish to hear me rant about more games, stick around. I'll have plenty more to say. Don't die.